Hey there guys, thanks for tuning in again. This is something I've really wanted to share for a long time. So this is my attempt and my arts and crafting day, because it's kind of a rainy day outside. But if you didn't know, a couple of my previous videos, I have been out mushroom hunting. I'm kind of new to it. I've only done it for the last couple years or so. I'm very blessed with some awesome hunting private lands very close to me and some awesome friends to help me learn. And so last year I attempted to cast a Morel mushroom in resin. And so this is that guy. This is a giant yellow Morchella, one of the genus of the mushrooms. And it's a really big one. It was a giant mess, and I used the wrong epoxy resin. I used a 2-part 1-to-1, which is not meant for deep pours. Obviously it's a giant mushroom as well. And on the bottom here, I added a whole bunch of glow crystals, glow rocks from UV pack light. So it's a really cool night light. The bubbles actually, all these little bubbles in the air pockets. Let's see if I can get it zoom in here. All these little bubbles and air pockets actually do kind of capture and kind of throw off a lot more of that light. But it's not super duper clear. I mean, everybody can tell. If you're watching this video, you're already interested in either casting resin projects or, you know, lathe work or whatever. This is my attempt, and it's not something I've looked all over the internet for. I've only ever found 2 small little jewelry pieces of dehydrated morel mushrooms that somebody had on an Etsy shop a long time ago. And so this is my work. This is all completely my idea so far. Well, not my idea, I can't say that, because like I said, I've seen a couple 2 specific options out there the last time I looked, and I made this last hunting season. So this has been 1 complete year now. Last May I made this, and it was a huge mess. I had resin all over. Even with my gloves, I got resin all over, trying to pour resin on the inside of this thing and let it hang upside down, and then do it all upside down like this, because instead of making like an actual casting and then sanding and polishing it, I figured I'd just use a glass tube. In this case, I believe they make these at the craft stores for clocks, or tiny little timepiece things is what they're advertised for. I can't remember. I think this was like let's say $7 to $10 just for the glass, and then on the lathe I turned the bottom instead of spending the extra $10 for the actual base to go with it. So all in all, I posted in my local mushroom foraging group here in Minnesota. And the only negative out of all the people who really loved the idea and wanted one, really positive feedback, the only one negative I got was somebody who works for hospitals or clinics or something like that. And they said, have you ever heard of anaerobic bacteria? Which I did a little research on, and something about the bacteria inside all things or some things will eventually, because of air and moisture trapped inside, and again, this is not a dehydrated morel mushroom. This one was very, very fresh when I did it. It was flopping all over. It'll eventually eat itself away. So I think I proved her wrong on that statement, because after a year, this thing is perfectly flawless, just like the day that I cast it. Again, with all those bubbles, I was just never really all that happy with it. And so I've gone ahead earlier last week, and I've tried a different attempt. So these are 3, I actually made 4. I've already given one away to a really good friend and mushroom hunting friend of mine. So these ones I did the exact same kind of thing, but I used the right kind of clear casting resin. You can see there's no air bubbles in the actual castings themselves. Let me let the dog in. Come on, Weiner. Good boy. He needs a grooming. There's no bubbles like in this one, all over, all these bubbles trapped in here and stuff like that, but you can tell, because of their smaller and cylindrical shape, that the actual mushrooms are quite a bit smaller than they look. So this is definitely like a magnifying glass effect, which I really hadn't anticipated on them looking like that. And then upon further inspection, if you're really looking, even though I soaked these really good ahead of time with an acid brush and purred this is the clear casting resin I'm using from the local hobby shop. Even though I soaked them and tried to pop all the air bubbles, you can see, if you really look in there, how kind of hazy they look, and those little bubbles all over there. I believe that's actually a little bit of off-gassing mixed with the spores trying to be released from the mushroom, experiencing some trauma, obviously being ripped out of the ground. And there's a couple tiny little bubbles, trapped in there and such. But all those gray bubbles, I really believe those are all spores trying to get out. You can really tell. All those little gray bubbles, I think those are actually spores trying to get out, which I thought was really cool. But again, it didn't really capture, and they're really cool, really cool. I'm really happy with how these turned out compared to Mr. Bubbly over here, the nightlight. I didn't have any more glow powder, but I did have some reindeer moss in a bag, and so I used that. And then these are obviously cork jars that now that they're sealed, you're never going to get that off, and you just flip them upside down and they won't scratch anything. I thought that was kind of a nifty idea. Anyways, still doesn't really capture how you would see them in nature. I mean, from a distance, obviously, if you're watching this video and you click on the thumbnail, it's a Morel cast in resin, and it looks a lot better than that. Okay, right? We're in agreement there? We're following? Okay, so really happy with it so far, but I think I can do better. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I don't have any more of those jars anymore, but I got 2 of these jars, these little miniature cookie jars. And I've got some aquarium purple rocks, aquarium blue glass pieces. I think I'm going to go with the blue because I think the blue and green will look a lot better. And purple's fine and whatnot, but I think this will work a lot better. So let me go ahead and get out the mushroom that I've chosen. I've got a bag in the fridge still from last weekend, so I've actually had a couple more days to dry out than these ones. They're basically the next day I cast these ones. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to follow all the instructions again with the mixing cup and the ratios, and do all the exact same processes. Here's my, I'll pick some little piece of some reindeer moss here. That's probably plenty. And I get some of the crap out of there and kind of place that in there, and then I'm going to go and I'll put you guys on a time lapse and see if I can piece these 2 videos together so you can see exactly how I do it. But it's 15-minute stages. You have to do tiny little pours all the way up, and because it's not upside down this time like these ones, I'm going to actually have to fill the mushroom with one of the first pours as it's upside down. So I got to find a holder for it and let that really gelatinize inside so it's got a nice stiff base, and this will be the second pour technically at the bottom, and then over the moss will be the third, and so on and so forth. And so I'm going to put you guys in a time lapse. Hopefully this all works out. If it doesn't, this video will never see the light of day, or maybe it will, just because I don't mind posting my mistakes. So hang in there. I'll piece these 2 videos together once I get some video editing software, but here goes nothing.
Promise,
Alright, so as you can tell, I definitely had some floating issues. Doing it upside down is the ideal way to go in my opinion. And you could also tell too, even from my previous description, I poured too much resin in immediately anyways. I did not do it in stages. And you can tell I do have some bubbles. I'm not too worried about that. What I'm more concerned about is you can see that it's already, you look really close, it's already starting to fade. You could tell right away from the look of the first Morel when I started compared to the other ones that had already been cast. Those really deep dark black valleys tend to just completely disappear and turn blonde. The color is holding up so far pretty good, but it looks like it's getting cloudy again to me, and I'm kind of seeing those little micro bubbles that are kind of turning gray. I'm not sure. So if anybody wants a follow-up video, I certainly do that. The moss started floating a bit too, and from the top view, it is actually completely submerged after sticking it down with that set of chopstick thing that I did. I did completely push it down and submerge it, so it is completely sealed and submerged. But I did have some floating issues there, and I can't see really as much of the stem as I would have liked to, because that really lightweight reindeer moss started kind of floating too. I tried poking that down, but then I just really didn't want to disturb it a whole bunch more. So I'm going to let this dry and cure for at least the 24 hours that is necessary, but this is what it'll look like when it's done. I might choose to fill up that tiny little gap there too at the top, just to kind of finish off a little bit, but it's kind of cool, kind of neat. There's an idea for all you do-it-yourselfers and stuff. Keep a Morel forever. That way you always got something too to train your eyeballs when it becomes Morel hunting season again. Really practice looking at them and seeing them brainy structures, so you can train your eyeballs to see, start seeing them a lot better when you're out in the woods and stuff. But so thanks for tuning in. This is Red Tail Ray, and I'll see you guys in the next one.